that the last thing the men behind the curtain want is a conscious, informed public capable of critical thinking, which is why a continually fraudulent zeitgeist is output via religion, the mass media, and the educational system. They seek to keep you in a distracted, naive bubble, and they are doing a damn good job of it.
So there is legislation that is prepared, and if we allow it to continue, it will force us to be totally and completely disarmed. Even our military will no longer belong to our own country. As it is now, it practically doesn't, because they use it for whatever they need to force other countries to comply with a plan for a world government. World government, as you've probably had a lot of shows on that, people return once again to being serfs on the land that their forefathers had conquered. So it isn't that we are trying to stop something that is good. We're trying to stop things that are bad. When people are totally and completely disarmed, they have no authority whatsoever. And as you know, everyone knows that the United States is a republic. And the definition of a republic is that the people themselves are the final authority. And the only way that can happen is if the people have arms and they are willing, able to defend that position of being the final authority and a republican system. So this is what we're up against, is because government is trying its very hardest to take away the guns from the people.
Well, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, along with the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, have placed a large and rather interesting order. They've ordered 450 million rounds of ammunition to be created and delivered to them over the next 5 years. Now, the company Alliant Tech Systems, or ATK, was awarded the contract to manufacture 40 caliber ammunition, high-performance bullets. Apparently, these bullets, quote, provide optimum penetration for the terminal performance, referring to the way the tip of the bullet passes through barriers and expands, all the while holding its jacket in its toughest conditions. So this is interesting because this is not the Pentagon making this order for the military. It's DHS. And to give you a little perspective here, there are only about 311 million people living in the United States, so it begs the question, why such a massive order?
Welcome back to the InfoWars Nightly News. Top story, headline, guns of pot users to be confiscated. Oh, yes, it's come to that. The Obama administration, through the Justice Department, has given the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives the authority to seize and administratively forfeit property involved in controlled substance abuses. In effect, those who are convicted of crimes involving alcohol and/or substance abusers will have their right to bear arms revoked. So...
Well, let me see.
Okay.
They're ordering millions of rounds of ammo themselves.
Over 1 billion. The whole government combined over
1 billion suddenly, and they want to take all the Americans' guns away. I'd say they think there's going to be an issue.
I mean, possibly.
That characterize who might be a terrorist. Someone missing fingers on their hands is a suspect, according to the Department of Justice. Someone who has guns, someone who has ammunition that is weatherproofed, someone who has more than 7 days of food in their house can be considered a potential terrorist. If you are suspected by these activities, do you want to have the government have the ability to send you to Guantanamo Bay for indefinite detention? A suspect. We're not talking about someone who has been tried and found guilty. We're talking about someone suspected of activities. But some of the things that make you suspicious of terrorism are having food, having more than 7 days of food, missing fingers on your hand, having ammunition, having weatherproofed ammunition, having several guns at your house. Is that enough? Are you willing to sacrifice your freedom for liberty?
Big government Republicans and Democrats were busy shredding the last vestiges of the Constitution. Senators John McCain and Carl Levin want to enact a law that would declare the entire United States of America a battlefield for the military. They're talking about inserting the Army into domestic law enforcement. Senator Lindsey Graham, who supports this bill, says, quote, "The homeland is part of the battlefield, and people can be held without trial, whether an American citizen or not." I guess he hasn't read the Constitution recently.
But we begin tonight with a newly leaked U.S. Army military police training manual for what they are calling civil disturbance operations. The Army manual outlines the plan to kill rioters and demonstrators in America. That's right. They have plans to confiscate our firearms and kill American citizens on U.S. soil. This during a mass civil unrest, which of course will be engineered by the foreign banks who now run our military. Warning shots will not be fired. Use of deadly force authorized. And
drones coming soon to a protest near you. In addition to Obama's expansive drone killing apparatus in the Middle East, Congress passed a bill earlier this year that opens the U.S. skies to unmanned drone surveillance for domestic and military police operations. In a surveillance society where people are already accustomed to being filmed on every street corner, the constant aerial surveillance of drones will make privacy even more obsolete.
They are the cornerstone of America's military arsenal, dropping bombs on Bosnia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Libya, and Yemen. Unmanned aerial vehicles, known as drones, have become the trademark of Washington's war missions, targeted assassinations, and spying operations overseas. But today,
the local police department's using unmanned spy planes to catch suspects.
The remotely piloted war weapon is flying domestic.
Drones, very helpful in war against the enemy. The unmanned spy planes our military uses in Afghanistan and Iraq to keep murderers from doing more murdering. But they may soon be here at home over us. Congress, that Congress you love so much, just passed a bill which the president is expected to sign into law. It orders the Federal Aviation Administration to come up with new regulations to test and license drone aircraft for use in American airspace by the
night I dreamt about how things were. And then I woke up here.
We'll see in very short order the bodies of dead Americans piling up in the streets. The Congress is now being held at the point of a gun to vote to nullify their own constitutional authority and grant Obama dictatorial power by emergency decree. With the budget deal which Obama announced overnight, not only will $1 trillion in cuts go into effect immediately, but a super Congress, an Uber Congress, will be convened to dictate another $1.5 trillion in cuts. This bicameral committee of 6 Democrats and 6 Republicans would be tasked to recommend a fascist austerity package by November 23rd, at which point both houses of Congress would be required to vote yes or no. They cannot amend it. They cannot filibuster. If the Congress votes no on the package, $1.5 trillion in cuts to defense and domestic entitlements will be triggered automatically anyway. The issue here is not a budget question or the debt ceiling. Obama, in collusion with the British Empire, has orchestrated a campaign of terror against the elected representatives of our government to force them to concede their constitutionally mandated power to a dictatorial supra-legislative body. This is the Obama plan. He has claimed credit for it, and the credit indeed is all his. He is guilty of being an Adolf Hitler. In the same way that Hitler used the Reichstag fire, the threat from Standard & Poor's, Moody's, and other rating agencies to downgrade the U.S. debt is the environment of terror being used by Obama to ram through a dictatorial fascist coup. Look at the facts. Obama was directly collaborating with British agent David Beers of S&P to orchestrate the pretext for a coup against the U.S. Constitution. This is treason in the constitutional definition of the word. Obama deserves to be immediately removed from office now on charges of adhering to the interests of a foreign power against the lives and welfare of the citizens of the United States. And anybody in the Congress who votes for this coup d'etat is voting for treason against their nation, and they will be held accountable. LaRouche PAC is currently mobilizing a mass resistance in the American population. The 6-candidate LaRouche Democratic slate has condemned this Hitler coup plan for what it is. A mass leaflet is now in circulation, and field teams of the LaRouche PAC organization are on the streets across the country delivering the message that our only defense is Glass-Steagall now. In this emergency situation, Glass-Steagall could be passed today. Glass-Steagall has now become the only weapon of strategic defense that our nation has to head off this coup. Bankrupt the enemy, remove Obama from office. If we don't act now, we've nullified our system of government, and we've lost the United States.
Are we going to war? It looks like it, doesn't it? It's got to be over 100 on there. I think it's taking 3 inches. Yeah. Insane. It's not ending.